Something remarkable is happening in Pittsburgh. Since about the turn of the century, the former Steel City has been attracting attention as an increasingly livable place full of history, charm, and opportunity. What is the DNA of a truly livable city? The Pittsburgh Century Project traces the origins of livability, starting with the evolutionary basis of personal well-being and happiness, then how we might apply these principles of well-being to cities, where the majority of us live. Finally, we'll outline an approach for building alignment on and measuring progress toward making Pittsburgh one of the world's most livable cities by the end of this century. Let's start by briefly exploring the ancestral roots of well-being and happiness. Research in this field has exploded since the mid-1990s with the emergence of new tools and insights in behavioral science and evolutionary psychology. We're beginning to understand how we evolved to live. As Einstein said, look deep into nature and then you will understand everything better. From the birds that thrive in the forest canopy, to the rainforest tree frogs, to the rare species of blind fish living under tremendous pressure at the dark sea bottom, every creature is perfectly adapted to its natural habitat. However, remove an animal from its natural habitat and it cannot thrive. Ask any zookeeper. No matter how hard we try to recreate the habitat of wild animals, their lifespans are shorter and their reproductive rates are significantly lower in captivity. So what is the natural human habitat? Or, put another way, what was our ancestral ecosystem like? We emerged 12,000 generations ago as gatherer-hunters, living under the sun and stars among the subtle sights and sounds of nature. As members of intimate communities, our social roles were quickly determined and stable. We had to connect and cooperate to survive. People consumed a rainbow of plants and also wild animals. Survival required frequent physical activity followed by deep relaxation or restful sleep. This is what we're hardwired to do, from gut to muscle, from bone to brain chemistry, but it is not the way we live. For most of human history, our lifestyle was pretty much the same as that of our great-grandparents. From the emergence of culture through the development of agriculture and the scientific and industrial revolutions, our culture gradually evolved. But the information explosion that began in the 1990s has changed nearly every aspect of our lifestyle and culture, from physical activity to sleep, personal connections, and stress. We are really no taller, no faster, no smarter than we were 50,000 years ago, but our lifestyle has completely changed. Nowhere else in nature do we find this dramatic decoupling of behavior and biological evolution. Having looked at the biology of well-being, how can we apply this natural wisdom to the design of cities? Since we're wired to crave the natural world, what are the implications for communities? In other words, what are the fundamental principles of livability in cities? In the US, more than 80% of people now live in urban areas, compared to only 25% in 1900. Since cities are our primary habitat, how can we design them to be less isolating, distracting, sedentary, and nature-deprived, and make them more socially engaging, connected to nature, healthy, creative, and fair? Building on our understanding of personal well-being, we can derive a design framework for livability in cities, one that is compatible with the way we evolved to live. First, we desire a sense of place, the feeling of security that comes with a strong connection to the city's history, architecture, stories, and traditions. We appreciate an authentic built environment that results from a commitment to preservation, and we seek out familiar gathering places to connect and celebrate. Next, a livable city has walkable neighborhoods that bring people together for identity, mutual support, common purpose, and friendship. In these neighborhoods, you can find nearly everything you need within a 5 or 10-minute walk. When these walking circles are linked together by transit, the entire city is accessible on foot, promoting public health. Livable cities also provide green public spaces within easy reach of every citizen. This connection to nature is provided by strategically placed parks and parklets, street trees, green roofs, and lids, thoughtful landscaping, activated public waterfronts, and views. We're naturally drawn to cities with beauty and charm. Besides public art, cultural attractions, great architecture, and enticing city squares, the principles of urban beauty include local designs, organized complexity, variety, and even whimsy. Livable cities are deliberate and thoughtful about developing at a human scale. The regional food community is a web of intimate connections from the land through family businesses to the tables of every citizen every day. It reflects the culture, history, and future of food, embracing new residents, new tastes, new uses of old things. It promotes well-being, equity, identity, pleasure, and personal connection. In a truly great city, everyone has the opportunity to enjoy the benefits of livability and participate in its success. The city is welcoming and inclusive with cultural, ethnic, and age diversity. Development is mixed use and mixed income. The community strives to ensure that labor, food, housing, and mobility are universally accessible. Finally, a livable city is prosperous and resilient. This is essential to sustain all other aspects of livability. The business community is diverse, with large and small enterprises engaged in a wide variety of services and production. The economy is growing and has a powerful innovation ecosystem, providing the talent and resources to spawn and nurture new enterprises. It is characterized by collaboration and partnerships among public and private, nonprofit, and government sectors. So, a natural urban habitat is comprised of a sense of place, walkable neighborhoods, access to nature, beauty and charm, a strong regional food community, inclusion, and prosperity and resilience. Now, looking at the city of Pittsburgh through the lens of livability, a compelling story is unfolding. Pittsburgh was settled in the mid-1700s and quickly rose to prominence as an industrial center. By 1910, it was America's eighth largest city. It was a city built for people, with narrow streets tightly packed among the many rivers and hills. But it was also a smoky and gritty place. And by the 1970s, the industrial economy had collapsed, and it was several decades before Pittsburgh would dramatically reinvent itself as a center for healthcare, advanced technology, finance, and higher education. By the turn of the 21st century, Pittsburgh was poised for a renaissance as a truly great city full of potential. At half its peak population in 1950, there was plenty of empty space and beautiful old architecture ready to be repurposed. Affordability was among the best of major U.S. cities. There were 70 miles of picturesque waterfront, much of it no longer industrialized. As America's hilliest city, there were outstanding views all over town. And, built on the enormous wealth of its industrial barons, Pittsburgh had magnificent cultural and academic institutions and powerful charitable foundations. All over the region, a new Pittsburgh was taking shape. In each of the 7 cornerstones of livability, major developments were changing the landscape. Now, nearly 20 years into the Pittsburgh Century, the city is at a crossroads. So here is the Pittsburgh Century Challenge. Can we build on this momentum to create one of the world's truly great cities with unsurpassed livability and charm by the end of the century? Can we build the city of our dreams? Well, there's another scenario. If we fail to take action, we will suffer the inevitable consequences: maddening traffic jams, an affordability crisis, growing inequity, and the gradual replacement of local businesses with outside ownership and a cookie-cutter built environment. What will we choose to be? As we approach the year 2020, we are nearly 1/5 of the way into the Pittsburgh century. Building on the successes of the first 2 decades, we're in a good position to dream of a brilliant future. Now is the time to start asking ourselves some big strategic questions. By 2100, what is the farthest any citizen should be from a great green space in Pittsburgh? From a transit station? How should zoning evolve to promote affordable housing? With such a long time horizon, dramatic improvements in zoning could be nudged forward. What should our strategy be for using transit to channel development equitably? How can we turn our hills, bridges, and tunnels into spectacular assets rather than obstacles? What decisions will make our riverfronts an international tourist destination? What might effective regional governance look like? Our leaders have already begun the process of thinking big. For example, Jane Miller, the new CEO of the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy, recently said, "I want to be able to provide all residents with the ability to get to a quality park within a 10-minute walk." Taking inspiration from Grant Oliphant of the Heinz Endowments, we can begin to imagine what we can be. We can be the world's most beautiful city at night. Imagine if we illuminated only a fraction of our hundreds of bridges and hillsides. We can be a tourist mecca, an innovation powerhouse. We can be America's Riverwalk city, incredibly welcoming and diverse, a walker's paradise. This is only a sampling of what we could achieve. What are your dreams for the future of Pittsburgh? What needs to happen to realize our dreams? Now is the time to begin the dialogue and build consensus on our vision for the Pittsburgh century.